tears for the tear god, salt for the salt throne, and gas the leaf tribe.
I'm sure I've mentioned before the concept of the diarrhea cannon. If you turn on the diarrhea cannon for 30 seconds, it takes a lot longer than 30 seconds to clean up all that shit. So this is a breakdown of a 6-minute cut of Sacha Baron Cohen's rant about Facebook. So it got a little long. Buckle up.
If Facebook were around in the 1930s, it would have allowed Hitler to post 30-second ads on his solution to the Jewish problem.
I remember a time not long ago, maybe 5 or 6 years, where pulling that shit, comparing things to Hitler, was an instant loss of all credibility. Okay, to the point that even Marvel Comics started calling out Magneto. Magneto, whose history in Marvel Comics is that he is a legit Holocaust survivor. And I remember one panel somewhere where he says, yes, then come the concentration camps. And somebody says, oh, I forgot, you're that guy online that immediately compares everything to Hitler. But what I find even more concerning, how did you do it? How did you manage to put me in a position where I am now on the same side as Mark fucking Zuckerberg?
Hear this dirge and despair.
Can you smell the copyright claim? Oh. So you know how sometimes in families there's different kinds of the one? Like the wild one, or the tough one, or the funny one. Well, turns out Sacha's brother is the smart one.
So here's a good standard and practice. Facebook. Start fact-checking political ads before you run them.
No, that's not Facebook's responsibility. They're a platform. Okay? It's like asking the guy who owns the billboard to fact-check every ad that goes up there. It's not his business to do that. That's not it's literally not his problem.
Today, around the world, demagogues appeal to our worst instincts.
Not just demagogues, though. Sometimes comedians, right? Somewhat comedians. Right? That it may be your instinct, your worst instinct, to want to suppress people's speech. And he's going to make a case for it.
Conspiracy theories, once confined to the fringe, are going mainstream.
I wonder if he's talking about flat earthers.
Hate crimes are surging, as are murderous attacks on religious and ethnic minorities.
What's really funny is that globally, the most oppressed religious group is Christians. More Christians are murdered every year than any other religion. So, just interesting, thought I'd point that out.
All this hate and violence is being facilitated by a handful of internet companies that amount to the greatest propaganda machine in history.
The hate and violence are being facilitated by a handful of internet companies. That's called a non sequitur. He's just stating the two things and not showing the link. How? How is it doing that, Sacha? Are you not going to go ahead and explain that? No, he's not.
I believe that it's time for a fundamental rethink of social media and how it spreads hate, conspiracies, and lies.
Except the social media doesn't do the spreading of anything. The people using the platform do the spreading. It's a background. I need a break. Moving on.
Last month, however, Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook delivered a major speech that, not surprisingly, warned against new laws and regulations on companies like his.
What's really interesting here is that, generally speaking, large companies, front runners like this, are all for new laws and regulations, generally because they're seen as the experts and get to weigh in on what laws and regulations are to be set. And those laws and regulations act as gates for competition to break into the market. And they love it. They want those laws and regulations. For Zuckerberg to be saying, no, we can't have these laws and regulations, there must be something horrifically wrong with the premise of those laws and regulations. Think about it.
Well, some of these arguments are simply, pardon my French, bullshit.
Is an Englishman using an English word and saying, pardon my French, because it's a swear, is that racist? I don't...
Let's count the ways. First, Zuckerberg tried to portray this whole issue as choices around free expression. That is ludicrous. This is not about limiting anyone's free speech.
He says it's not about limiting free speech. But now he's going to go ahead and just say the exact opposite thing now.
This is about giving people, including some of the most reprehensible people on earth, the biggest platform in history to reach a third of the planet. Freedom of speech is not freedom of reach.
So, reprehensible people, people you find reprehensible, and the things they believe or say that you find reprehensible, those people have freedom of speech, and their speech is protected by freedom of speech. To suggest that freedom of speech is not freedom of reach is correct. And it's not up to the platform to determine that. It's up to the users on the platform. That's how they are built. That is how they are supposed to work. So it's not Facebook's responsibility. It's not Zuckerberg's responsibility. It's all of the people on it. I don't know how many times I'm going to have to explain this.
Sadly, there will always be racists, misogynists, anti-Semites, and child abusers.
Wait, did he say racists? And then also anti-Semites? Why isn't anti-Semitism covered under regular old racism? Oh, is it because it's a twofer? Because it's both a religion and a people? I don't know. Maybe. Who knows?
Semites and child abusers. But I think we can all agree that we should not be giving bigots and pedophiles a free platform to amplify their views and target their victims.
No, I think we should. I think we should allow them a free platform where we can see what they're doing and always know what it is they're saying. Most importantly, because people who disagree with them will be able to beat them down with words in a public forum. Amplify their views and target their victims. Look, I don't like Sacha Baron Cohen. That doesn't mean I'm targeting him. My dislike for him doesn't mean he's a target. Doesn't mean he's a victim. It's again the non sequitur that goes from dislike, like even straight up bigotry. You have a right to your bigotry. You have a right to your hatred, as long as you don't act out on it in a certain way, namely violence. Try telling that one to Antifa.
Second, Mark Zuckerberg claimed that new limits on what's posted on social media would be to pull back on free expression.
Zuckerberg is 100% correct on this. Again, yeah, no, you've got me agreeing with the cyborg. Okay, fine. Okay, let's do this.
This is utter nonsense. We're not asking these companies to determine the boundaries of free speech across society. We just want them to be responsible on their platforms.
Just want them to be responsible on their platforms. However, their platforms reach 1/3 of all the people on the planet, so you don't want them to be to set the boundaries on free speech for all society. Only 1/3 of all people on the planet. You fucking tit. What the fuck, man? Oh my god.
Third, Mark Zuckerberg seemed to equate regulation of companies like his to the actions of the most repressive societies.
You know, the way Iran, China, North Korea, the like, limit access and ability to post on social media. But okay, sure.
Incredible. This from one of the 6 people who decide what information so much of the world sees.
I don't actually know the other 5. Silicon Valley giants, I imagine. But Zuckerberg's argument is that he shouldn't be deciding what information so much of the world sees. The people on the platform should be doing that. His should just be a passive background on which people post their bullshit.
Here's an idea. Instead of letting the Silicon Six decide the fate of the world,
Which they don't. The people using the platforms do, ideally.
let our elected representatives, voted for by the people of every democracy in the world, have at least some say.
Yeah, let's have them have some say in who gets their right to free speech and who does not. Let's do that's a good use of democracy and a way to protect your freedoms. You fuck.
Fourth, Zuckerberg speaks of welcoming a diversity of ideas.
Sacha is not for this.
And last year he gave us an example. He said that he found posts denying the Holocaust deeply offensive, but he didn't think Facebook should take them down because I think there are things that different people get wrong.
This is a really interesting one. The Holocaust. Yeah, okay. Sure. Flat Earth. Sure. Evolution, creationism. Sure. What if there are people that don't know what it is? And you're telling them it happened and they're like, nah, I don't believe that happened. That's fucking crazy. Should they be removed from Facebook for not knowing? Should they be removed for being shown what he's about to call millions of pieces of evidence and just not being convinced? How do you explain to creationists evolution when they just refuse to believe it? All right, what about people who don't think that humans are the driving force behind climate change? What if all the evidence you think you have isn't enough to convince me? Now what? I'm either forced to say I believe the thing of which you have failed to convince me, or I'm banned from the social media? Are you fucking retarded?
To quote Edward R. Murrow, one cannot accept that there are on every story 2 equal and logical sides to an argument. We have, unfortunately, millions of pieces of evidence for the Holocaust. It is an historical fact. And denying it is not some random opinion. Those who deny the Holocaust aim to encourage another one.
Now, I'm pretty sure I did a fair job of just demonstrating how that, again, complete non-fucking sequitur. Those who are unconvinced, those who are not so bright and can't weigh and analyze such evidence and go, I still don't, that's crazy. That didn't happen. They're encouraging another one just by that virtue of being ignorant or stupid. Sure. Yeah. That makes perfect fucking sense, Sacha.
Fifth, when discussing the difficulty of removing content, Mark Zuckerberg asked, where do you draw the line?
Which is an incredibly fair question. Probably the only question that needs to be answered. And the answer is, there should be no line. If it's not a call to imminent lawless action, that's it. Real simple.
Yes, drawing the line can be difficult.
Not if you're an authoritarian, right? Then you just draw the line wherever you want. That's it.
But here's what he's really saying. Removing more of these lies and conspiracies is just too expensive.
Probably is, but also go fuck yourself.
The truth is, these companies won't fundamentally change because their entire business model relies on generating more engagement, and nothing generates more engagement than lies, fear, and outrage.
Interesting, though, that the engagement for some of the stuff he's saying should be removed is actually negative engagement. People arguing against it. And isn't that a great fucking thing? That people are taking the time to stop and argue against those things. On what should be a free and open platform. Oh, fuck.
Finally, Zuckerberg said that social media companies should live up to their responsibilities. But he's totally silent about what should happen when they don't.
Of course, I'm getting from this speech that Zuckerberg thinks that the responsibility of the social media platform is to keep as open and wide a definition of free expression as possible. So when they don't do that, yeah, no, what should be the punishment? I guess the punishment would be that the free market user disengages.
By now, it's pretty clear they cannot be trusted to regulate themselves.
And this is a terribly, I don't know if he's just not the smart brother, so he's framing it poorly, or if he's framing it disingenuously. You're not asking Facebook to regulate itself. You're asking Facebook to regulate its users. Something very, very different.
As with the Industrial Revolution, it's time for regulation and legislation to curb the greed of these high-tech robber barons. In his speech, Zuckerberg said that one of his main goals is to uphold as wide a definition of freedom of expression as possible. It sounds good. Yeah.
It sounds good because it is.
Our freedoms are not only an end in themselves.
I'm pretty sure there's arguments against that. I'm not good at them, but they exist.
They're also the means to another end. As you say here in the US, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Because I don't think they actually have those rights in the UK. We're supposed to have them in Canada.
But today these rights are threatened by hate, conspiracies, and lies.
How? Non sequitur. All right. The suggestion that people having a right to hate or a right to believe conspiracies and lies somehow threatens other people's right to life, liberty, and happiness, you have to explain the fucking connection. All right. And just saying it and then aiming to take those people's rights away. Well, that...
The ultimate aim of society should be to make sure that people are not targeted, not harassed, and not murdered because of who they are, where they come from, who they love, or how they pray.
Hold on there, rude boy.
The ultimate aim of society should be to make sure that people are not targeted, not harassed, and not murdered.
Full stop. Fix that for you.
Because of who they are, where they come from, who they love, or how they pray. If we make that our aim, if we prioritize truth over lies, tolerance over prejudice, empathy over indifference, and experts over ignoramuses.
Oh, interesting. He tried to go with some opposite scheme here.
They pray. If we make that our aim, if we prioritize truth over lies.
Okay. If we make that our aim by somehow prioritizing truth over lies, well, if you want to prioritize truth over lies, then we have to recognize that Islam is crap. That's the truth.
Tolerance over prejudice.
Tolerance over prejudice. I mean, yeah, I guess. I think that's a bigger discussion.
Empathy over indifference.
Ooh, see, this is suddenly not opposites. Indifference is actually the best way to tackle these. To tackle it from an apathetic state without an emotional interference. The opposite of empathy is not apathy. The opposite of empathy is disgust.
And experts over ignoramuses.
But what does that mean? That the ignoramuses don't get to talk? They don't get social media platforms? Like, that's ableist, isn't it?
Then maybe, just maybe, we can stop the greatest propaganda machine in history. We can save democracy. We can still have a place for free speech and free expression. And most importantly, my jokes will still work.
Your jokes don't work. And to suggest that it's saving democracy and what was that other stupid thing that he said? Still having a place for free speech and free expression by stopping the greatest propaganda machine in history. But he doesn't want to stop the greatest propaganda machine in history. He wants it to work for him and him alone. Only for his ideas should this propaganda machine work. Not for ideas count. No. No, people shouldn't be able to use my propaganda machine to argue against me. That's targeted harassment. Guess what, Cohen? I got a quote too. From Noam Chomsky. Goebbels was in favor of free speech for views he liked. So was Stalin. If you're really in favor of free speech, then you're in favor of freedom of speech for precisely the views you despise. Otherwise, you're not in favor of free speech. Suck it, Sacha.
Relevant links to shit I said in the description. Maybe. I'm a retweet. Like, subscribe, or don't. It's a free country. At least it used to be.
They would silence us?